Hello everyone, how's it going? And welcome to our first look at Wild Rift patch 4.1a. This one's a little bit difficult because for some reason the official Wild Rift account has not released the first look image yet for patch 4.1a. This is a translated version from the Wild Rift Brazilian account. So it's like a Portuguese translated version of the first look. So some of the things might look a little bit weird, but I think I kind of get the idea of what we're looking at in terms of, you know, buffs, nerfs, even though they say strengthen champions, weaken champions, and then obviously the bottom is all the adjustments. So we're going to go through and read all of this and see what changes are going to be happening next week for Wild Rift. First up is Jhin. We're quite easy with that one. Deadly Bloom cooldown. So this is the second ability cooldown, which is the long range skill shot. It's going down from 14 seconds down to 12 seconds. I think the big thing about Jhin at the moment is that they still haven't bug fixed the Lord Dominic's regards item for Jhin. At the moment there is a bug with Jhin where he doesn't get the extra attack speed converted into AD, because that's what normally happens with Jhin. Every single time Jhin gets attack speed, it gets converted into AD. That's why normally Ghostblade is a really good item. It doesn't work for Lord Dominic's regards though. You don't get the extra AD for Lord Dominic's regards, so unfortunately the item is kind of bugged and the passive doesn't really work. I mean, it's still a strong item overall, but that's kind of what's holding back Jhin at the moment for me. This is a nice buff, I guess. You get 2 seconds less cooldown on your second ability, so you can use this more often to root or just to poke in general. I'll probably do a video on Jhin because there's been like a new build going around where you can play like electrocute Jhin with Lord Dominic's regards, with Ghostblade, and going for more of a crit build with that. So I'll probably give that a try in another video, and I'll probably try out Jhin again. But like I said, I think the problem at the moment is that Jhin just doesn't work with Lord Dominic's regards with the passive. If that works, then I think that'd be kind of cool. Nunu and Willump, the base life per level, which I'm guessing is the base health per level, is going from 105 up to 112. So you're basically getting like an extra 100 health at level 15 now, which is quite nice. And the consume heal additional health multiplier, so I'm guessing this is the extra healing you get based on your life, goes from 8% up to 9%. So it means that if you go for a more tankier build, if you're going to make Nunu, you're going to build Nunu more tanky, you're going to get more healing now from your first ability, which is quite nice. So depending on how much bonus health you have will depend on how much extra healing you have on your first ability, which I think is really nice. And I think that for most Nunu players, you're going to go for loads of health anyway. You know, Sunfire Aegis, Searing Crown, probably Thorn Mail, you know, loads of items like that. So I think in general it's going to be a very good item for Nunu, and I think it's going to be you know, I think Nunu will be in a pretty decent spot because you get more health per level, and you also get more healing as well from your first ability, which means you can survive a lot longer in the skirmishes and also in team fights as well. So I think that's going to be quite nice indeed for Nunu. I haven't actually tried Nunu yet with the new items, but I'm guessing this build, like I mentioned, is something like Sunfire, Searing Crown, Twinguard, Thorn Mail, Spirit Visage, something like that probably. And also obviously the healing is going to be increased because of Spirit Visage, so I think this is quite nice. Warwick, thanks to beast damage converted to healing, so his first ability, the damage that gets converted into healing is going up by a crazy significant amount, to be fair. So you're going to get a lot more healing now in the early game, which is again probably another buff towards Warwick in the Baron lane. Obviously they did some changes in patch 4.1 which tried to convert Warwick from a jungler into a Baron lane, nerf some of the jungle, but they buffed some of the Baron lane stats, and this is again buffing more of the Baron lane. You're getting more healing now from your first ability, which means you can trade probably a little bit better in the laning phase. Like you can tell at level 1 it's like a crazy big difference now with the first ability, but as you get into the later stages it stays the exact same amount. So it's just again a little bit more early game power to give Warwick a little bit more power in the laning phase. Amumu's second ability, the ability power ratio, I'm guessing, has gone down from 0.75 to 0.6%. I'm quite surprised with this. I'm guessing this is because AP Amumu is still maybe stronger than tank Amumu. This is definitely trying to get players to build more towards tank Amumu rather than going towards AP Amumu, because obviously Despair is really good at the moment with the new item Searing Crown, also really good with Sunfire, and also Amumu as a tank at the moment is very, very strong, but maybe they're just nerfing the ability power ratio just to say like, okay, you know, try and go off the AP build and try and build more tank with some of the new tank items. I think that's kind of the direction that they're going with Amumu with these changes. Like I said, maybe because the ability power ratio is just too strong, and also this is probably going to affect his like 3 items solo Baron potential. He probably can still do it with 3 items, because you can just go what's the items again? Leandri's Riftmaker Deathcap, I think it is. I think if you have them 3 items with Amumu, then you can easily just solo Baron, and it's absolutely disgusting. You can probably still do it, but I think they're just nerfing the AP ratio just to make players try and build more towards tank. Nautilus, the damage against monsters on his 3rd ability is going down from 200% down to 175%. I think this is kind of necessary, to be fair. I think Nautilus, especially AP Nautilus jungle, has been very, very popular, and I did try out tank Nautilus in the jungle as well, which is a video that I'll probably release in the next few days. But tank Nautilus jungle is also still very, very strong, because you don't really need that much AP to clear the jungle that quickly anyway. Yes, if you build AP, the AP ratio gone up quite a bit, and you can pretty much one-shot jungle camps. But even if you build tank Nautilus jungle, you can still clear through the camps very, very quickly with how quickly, you know, how much damage your 3rd ability does to monsters in the jungle. So they're nerfing that just to reduce his jungle clear speed a little bit. But again, it's still 175%. It's still a big, big bonus. So knocking it by 25%, but it's still a big, big bonus overall for Nautilus in the jungle. Varus, they've buffed Varus time and time and time again. Varus is finally getting nerfed. I mean, if I say finally, but getting nerfed, I don't know. It's really weird. This is the Chain of Corruption AP ratio going from 100% down to 85%. This is something that got buffed in patch 4.1. I believe before it was 75%, and then they buffed it up to 100%, but now it's at 85%. So it's still stronger than what it was in patch 4.1, but it's just not as strong as what it was, but you know, in patch 4.1. I think I said that wrong. It's still stronger than what it was in patch 4.0c, but it's not as strong as what it was in patch 4.1. That's what I was trying to say. It's very late. It's 2 a.m. for me in the morning, so this is very late. So my brain is kind of trying to translate this and trying to explain everything at the same time is very, very difficult. But yeah, Varus nerfed. Very, very weird when he's been buffed like 5 or 6 times in a row. Maybe they just over buffed AP Varus a little bit. I mean, AP Varus is definitely very strong with all the buffs that they've been doing time and time again to AP Varus. There was going to be a time where Varus was going to be, you know, strong enough and going to be very, very good. So they're nerfing it in the next patch, which, okay, I guess. Zeri base life per level, so taking down her tankiness a little bit, so you're losing 8 health per level now, which will add up to around about around about 100 health at level 15 again, kind of the same as Nunu in a way. Not really too crazy, I don't think. I don't think this will affect her too much. I mean, you don't really build that much health on Zeri anyway. I mean, unless you go for like the Trinity Force build, then maybe you have a little bit of health, but getting a little bit of health means that she's just going to be less tankier, and that's pretty much it. I mean, to be fair, Zeri, you do have to go into quite melee range, so you do have to be very, very careful with Zeri. So I can maybe see this affecting Zeri a little bit, but overall I don't think it's not too bad. And this, as far as I'm aware, is the additional attack damage you get after you use your ultimate. So after you use your ultimate, there's like an additional electrifying attack that like spreads onto different targets. That ratio has gone down. It used to be 25% of your attack damage, and now it's only 20% of your attack damage. So more nerfs to Zeri. I'm quite surprised. I mean, Zeri is getting nerfed and nerfed and nerfed time and time again. I think they're realizing that Zeri is still too strong at the moment, and she still needs a little bit more nerfs. Not as big of a nerf as what it was in the previous patch, but still a nerf nonetheless. It's still another big hit for Zeri. Pyke adjustments. Obviously, Pyke has been quite popular, especially in the mid lane and jungle. I actually haven't played Pyke yet in the mid lane or jungle, but I definitely need to give him a try. This is the first ability, damage to monsters. I'm guessing troops means minions, because this is damage to monsters, which means that this is probably damage to against minions, because this was 100% and this was 110%, but now it's gone down to 90 and 80%. So you can see that they're reducing the damage to monsters in the jungle, and they're reducing the damage to minions in the laning phase. I played Pyke jungle once, I think, on stream, and I did see that Pyke jungle's clear speed was actually fairly quick, to be fair with you, because of the amplifying bonus that they gave you on the first ability. 110% is a lot, is very, very big. But it's just not as much. It's not going to be as much now. It's gone down to 90%, and the ones against the minions as well was very, very huge. I mean, they're both going down by 20%, but the one against the minions was huge. I saw in one of the pro games in the EMEA tournament recently, the Don was playing Pyke mid lane. You could just push around mid lane, and the crazy thing about Pyke is that you can just turn invisible and just roam around the map whenever you want to. So that is pretty scary. So you could just push mid as fast as you can with your first ability and also your third ability, which is also getting nerfed, by the way, against monsters, but I guess not against minions. So yeah, it's still very, very powerful. I still think he'll still be good, to be fair. Maybe not as strong as what he is now, but maybe I need to give him a try before these nerfs come in to see why they have nerfed Pyke and why he has been so strong in the mid lane, and also the jungle. But yeah, first ability against minions and also monsters have both been nerfed, and this one against monsters, so it's the third ability, damage against monsters, has been nerfed from 110% down to 100%. So this is kind of whatever, I guess. I mean, yeah, cool. I mean, your third ability is still going to do a lot of damage anyway. 100% is still a lot of damage. I read through this. As far as I'm aware, they're just giving you basically more gold. There's like additional gold multiplier for solo kills has gone down, I guess. So they're nerfing what Pyke would get in solo kills. I guess this is when you're like roaming around the jungle. But then awarded for Pyke for assists is going up. So I guess when Pyke get assists, it goes up. And also additional gold multiplier when teammates shoot down enemies within the ultimate range. So you also get more gold. So it looks like they're just adjusting him by nerfing how much damage he can do against minions and monsters, but then giving him more gold. However, he's getting less solo gold now. So his solo potential, like in his 1v1 scenarios, he's not going to get as much gold if there are no assists. But if there are assists from an ally champion, and they get the kill or you get the kill, then you get more gold. So more going towards, you know, trying to team fight instead of like trying to get solo kills in mid lane or trying to roam around to kill the jungler or anything like that. So that's kind of what I understand from this. I'm guessing that's what it is. We'll have to wait and see when the actual patch notes come out, because like I said, it's a little bit difficult, but I'm trying my best to obviously keep you all up to date with all the changes that is happening. Rammus is definitely getting some interesting changes. I think these actually might be pretty good for Rammus, to be fair. Defensive Cobalt base damage is going up by 2 at every single rank. The armor percentage increase, so this is how much extra defenses or extra armor you get, is going lower at higher ranks, but it's staying the same roughly at higher levels. So at level 1 it stays the same. When you go level 2, 3 and 4, it does get lowered by quite a bit. So this is like the extra, you know, percentage armor that you get when using the second ability. So that's going down. So the base damage is going up. So they're going more towards damage with the second ability, but making you lose more armor. But I think that's completely fine because Twinguard is still insanely broken, and I think that there's a lot of items that still work really well on him, like Thornmail, Sunfire, Aegis, you know, items like that. So I think that's fine. But I think this is the big thing. Defensive Cobalt no longer reduces movement speed by 30% when activated. I think this is actually pretty big. This means that Rammus now will be able to walk around whilst using his second ability and, you know, probably get into range of a taunt or probably get into range to auto attack or something like that. That I think this is actually a bigger change than maybe what people think, because I played Rammus a few times, especially obviously the new tank items. I wanted to give him a try, and it's really hurt him, to be fair. Him not getting the extra movement speed definitely really hurt him. But I mean, base damage in the early game, base damage at all levels, sorry, is going to help with his jungle clear. It's going to help him deal a little bit of damage. Yes, he's not going to get as much armor, but as I mentioned, you're building Thornmail, you're building Twinguard, you're building all these armor items anyway, so I think that's fine. And again, I think the reduced movement speed is going to be a big thing for him. Midnight Cloak, as far as I'm aware, this is Mantle of the 12th Hour. The item now is going to grant 200 health, but they're reducing the armor and magic resist. I think this is totally fine. I think that you want more life anyway from Mantle of the 12th Hour. So you getting more bonus life from Mantle of the 12th Hour means that it's going to scale better with the healing from the passive, because if you don't know the passive, the healing that you get when you drop below 35% health is based on how much bonus health you have. That's why it's really good for champions like Sion and champions like Dr. Mundo, because they build a lot of bonus health, and Sion just gets gradual bonus health as the game goes on. Yes, the armor and magic resist is reduced by 10, but I think that's completely fine, because most of the time you build this item with Twinguard, so you're getting a lot of armor and magic resist anyway with this item plus Twinguard. So I think you getting 200 bonus health is totally fine for this item. I would say this is probably more of a buff to the item, and maybe we'll open up to some other champions because it now gives you some extra life. So it means that the passive from Mantle to 12 hours is actually going to be stronger than what it was before. I still think it'd be good on like Sion and Dr. Mundo, but maybe it might be used on some other champions. We'll have to wait and see. But like I said, you always build this with Twinguard anyway, so it doesn't really matter. Sign of Sterak'S, this is Sterak'S Gage. This is a pretty big change. So ranged champions can now purchase this item. This is a huge buff for one champion in particular, which is Urgot. Urgot does really well with Sterak'S Gage, especially on PC League, and this is going to give him a huge boost on Wild Rift as well. And can't really think of any other champions that will use Sterak'S Gage well as a ranged champion, but let me know in the comments if you think of any others. Maybe if you go for like a tank Corki build, maybe you can go for it, or a tank Vayne build, maybe you can go for something like that, because it increases your AD, it gives you a bunch of AD as well, and it gives you that lifeline passive, which gives you the shield when you drop low on health. I think this is very interesting. I think this is going to be very interesting for a lot of champions. Like I said, I think the best benefit for this item is definitely going to be Urgot. Other than that, I'm not too sure. Probably have to test it out. Few things with this patch. There's no changes to Twinguard, which completely baffles me. I think Twinguard is insanely broken. Maybe the stats don't show that it's broken, but the item is completely busted. So I'm very surprised that nothing has happened there. Other than that, I don't think there's any crazy changes here. There's nothing too crazy that kind of shout out at me that's like, wow, this is going to be, you know, patch changing or something. There's just a lot of small changes. So maybe they're quite happy with the patch at the moment. I'm quite excited about the Jhin buff. But again, since the bug fix is not finished or not done yet, then, you know, we can't really do much with that. Anyways, I think that is pretty much everything for the first look of patch 4.1a. As I always do with these, when the official patch notes come out on Wednesday, most likely, I will be doing a YouTube short talking you through all the changes that happens to the champions. And yeah, I will see how things go with that. So hopefully you enjoyed this first look. Again, sorry it's not the English version. They haven't released it yet on Twitter as I record this video. But hopefully you got an insight anyway. Let me know in the comments what you think of the changes. But as always, take care, have a good night, and I'll see you in the next wild video. Peace.